Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name is Kieran Devlin and today's session is Steps to Prepare for the PSTN Switch Off. I'm delighted to be joined by Karen Patley, Lead Solution Engineer of Public Sector UK at RingCentral. Karen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we explore exactly what the PSTN Switch Off is, how businesses can prepare and what the benefits of voice over IP can be for them, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, Karen, and the work you do with RingCentral?
Sure. I'm a solutions engineer, so my role in itself is establishing requirements for prospects and customers alike, making sure that we demonstrate the products and offerings that we have as well, and then also translating that over to our professional services to make sure that the journey into production is smooth as well.
Perfect. So you're nicely positioned to leverage your expertise on digital transformation on one of the biggest cases of digital transformation in our industry today, which is, of course, next year's PSTN switch off. But and I imagine many people watching this video will have some degree of experience or understanding of it is, but I'm keen to hear your expert thoughts on it. What exactly is the 2025 PSTN switch off?
Well, it's a project that's been coming our way for a while now. So it started off in 2015, so it's not new, but it's basically the shutting down of ISDN and PSTN services. So ISDN being the first high-speed internet, if you will, started in the 90s, and many would say that it's the first or the groundwork for modern the internet now. And then PSTN is even older, started in the 1800s. It's based on copper wires, and that's mainly used for analog phones and fax devices as well. So it's those two networks that will be phased out. And everyone is being encouraged to transition to a full voice over IP network over the internet.
And we'll come. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say that then from 2025 onwards, nobody will be able to purchase any more ISDN or PSTN, and everyone will be forced to migrate off.
Perfect. Well, we'll come to the benefits of voice over IP very shortly. But I guess the big question that many people may have about the big switch off is, why is it happening? Now, obviously, we all have these very, very modern, very advanced technologies available to us, including VoIP. But why specifically is this switch off happening now?
Well, there's two main reasons. The predominant reason will be that the PSTN network can't keep up with modern day requirements, right? But outside of that as well, it's tricky to maintain several outdated networks at the same time. So by migrating everyone onto one network, it becomes a lot easier and cheaper to manage.
Oh, yeah, no, they're very, very concise, but exacting. Perfect. But I guess many customers, many end users involved in this will be asking the question, how does this impact them specifically? How will this impact businesses? And I'm wondering, I guess they can understand the gist of it, but if you could please go into some more detail about how exactly this will occur.
Sure, it's not going to be a minor impact. It will impact the daily way of working for many people, regardless of the sector that you work in, be it public sector, private sector. As soon as you use an analog device or any device that is connecting over ISDN or PSTN, that will have to change, right? So you will feel it mainly on the landline phones and the fax machines, but there's a few other ones as well that are impacted as well, like think alarms, CCTV, door entry systems. There's EPOS sales systems as well. So there's quite a lot of impact there, and we did some research on this. 2.4 million private and public sector organizations still use PSTN or ISDN today. And we also found that 70% of businesses relied on either of those two networks back in 2021. So that was quite a lot still very recently.
Absolutely, and as you outlined there are still so many organisations, so many businesses globally that, well, they either are in halfway, they're in the process of getting ready for the switch off, or they haven't even properly begun. What advice would you give to these organisations, whether they're partway through it or not particularly started yet? How can companies get ready for the switch off?
I think the first and most important step is to figure out what you have today. What do you need to replace? Because if you don't know that, it's going to be tricky, right? So taking stock of what you have, what's connected on ISDN and PSTN today. If you're responsible for managing several buildings, for example, reaching out to people that are actually physically in those buildings and asking them, what is in use, to make sure that you don't forget any important devices. That's a good first step. And then once you know what's connected today, then the question is, well, what do you need to have connected tomorrow? Because just because you had a phone there for 20 years doesn't mean that you need a phone there. Maybe in that location it makes more sense to have a mobile application, or you don't need a phone there at all because everyone in that building is using social media now. They don't use phones anymore. So there's a little bit of thought that can go into that. Um, Other than that, you also want to make sure that your network, your modern day internet, can cope with any of these changes as well. So if you were to take all of your devices and you replace them with either a soft phone or a newer generation of phone that can go over a voice over IP, can your network handle it? Do you have enough bandwidth to cope with that as well? And then once you're happy and you know what you want, it's time to start looking into what kind of solution would meet those requirements. So you're going to look at your general requirements. It's probably dial tone being one, but you probably want a bit more out of it than that nowadays. Reliability is key as well. You want to find a reliable system that takes over, right? So you find the solution that you prefer. And I always recommend find a few vendors that offer similar solutions and compare them and make sure that you have the right information in front of you. Then once you have a solution in mind, involve the people that need to use it. Make sure that they have training, enablement. Adoption is always really important in any type of migration that you do. And lastly, I would say embrace the change as well, right? If you see this as an improvement project and a way to bring your environment into a modern day way of working, rather than oh, I have to make this change, it will make the transition a lot easier as well.
Absolutely, it's a mentality thing, and once you get into that mindset, it can you look at it as an opportunity rather than a challenge. I think that's a really interesting take on it I haven't heard before. I guess the final question before I let you go, Karen, what would you say are the precise benefits from voice over IP?
Obviously the added functionality, right? You can do a lot more with voice over IP in comparison to an analog device. But outside of that, the fact that it's really easy to set up, you can do this overnight. You don't need to study for years to get this up and running, right? That's one thing. And it's cost effective because it's intuitive and because it's straightforward to use. There's a lot more self-service functionality there, so you don't need to have maintenance contracts and things like that. Um, Outside of that, most voice over IP services will be very reliable. Um, there's services out there that will have redundant capabilities, automatic failover, so you no longer have to be responsible for backup systems and things like that. Um, and voice over IP is scalable, right? So you don't have to constantly check, do we still have enough bandwidth and capacity to deal with this? That's down to the service provider.
Perfect. Well, I think that's all we've got time for today, but it's been a really enjoyable session, so thank you, Karen, for being here.
Likewise, thanks for having me.
And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share on social media, and we'll see you next time. I've been Kieran Devlin, UC Today. Thanks for watching.